Well. Adam Schiff is finally being investigated for the fraud of a human being that he is. President Trump threatens to federalize Washington, D.C. after hearing Big Balls, the Elon Musk DOGE genius, was violently attacked by a mob of 10. The Clintons are forced to testify to Congress about their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And Ghislaine Maxwell says she never once personally witnessed Donald Trump do anything illegal in their time when their paths crossed. Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing these videos. I just absolutely love when I get to share big, juicy stories with you. So stick with me to the very end. By the way, earlier today, while I was out shopping on vacation in Florida, someone said to me, "Hey, that amazing hat is from Stephen Gardner on YouTube. I love that guy." To which my wife replied, "That is Stephen Gardner. It was fun to meet him. So hello to you again. If you ever see me on the streets, feel free to say hi. I always love meeting fans of the show." All right, let's get into the news. President Trump is threatening to impose federal control over Washington, D.C., following an assault on Edward Coristine, a Department of Government Efficiency staff by the nickname Big Balls. This is the genius that Elon Musk hired that was able to go through and discover some of the biggest fraud in the American government. He's now working on the fraud in Social Security. The incident occurred early Sunday when approximately 10 teens surrounded his vehicle. He was beaten while shielding a woman that they were attacking, suffering a concussion in the process. Police have since arrested 2 of the 10 boys, and they are working to get them to spill the beans on the other 8 boys who ganged up and attacked Big Balls. In a Truth Social post, President Trump slammed the city's crime situation, stating, "Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youth and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens at the same time, knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them, but it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run the city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they are not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have to go through the horror of violent crimes. If this continues, I'm going to exert my power and federalize the city, make America great again." Now, remember, that Jewish couple was attacked and murdered. There's been other people that have been attacked, killed. Crime is up. Now, Elon Musk echoed President Trump's stance on his X account, praising Coristine for his bravery in protecting women. U.S. Attorney General Jeanine Pirro also weighed in, vowing to crack down on the criminals and make Washington, D.C. safe again. Now, NBC immediately put out a report that crime is down 26% in Washington, D.C., and that Donald Trump is overreacting. However, fatal shootings and other public attacks are still high, and this is what Donald Trump is worried about. Now, President Trump has suggested that Vice President J.D. Vance is most likely the heir apparent to lead the MAGA movement into the future, highlighting J.D. Vance's current position and even floating the idea of a future ticket with J.D. Vance as president and Secretary of State Marco Rubio as vice president. Now, right now, don't go any further. Let me know in the comments. Would you vote for this? I know I would. We would absolutely dominate with these two MAGA heroes. On top of that, we would pick up a huge portion of the Latino and the Hispanic vote. It would be absolutely phenomenal. Both of these men would make sure that everyone in America has opportunity to succeed. I think it could absolutely be awesome. Now, President Trump made these comments during an event where he signed an executive order taking over the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. He said he's worried, based on the $100 million missing from Gavin Newsom's Los Angeles fire event, that that money could be stolen, misappropriated, laundered, or put into dark pools. Therefore, President Trump and Washington, D.C. are taking over the Olympics in 2028. President Trump responded to a question from Fox News' Peter Doocy, and this is where he went on to spill the beans that he thinks J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio would be an incredible team. Now, polling shows J.D. Vance in a strong position. An Emerson College poll shows him outperforming Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris by a lot. It also shows him 61% support, with Steve Bannon being next at only 12%, and Ron DeSantis down at just 7%. So it's all speculation. As my friend Roger Stone says, 3.5 years is a long way away in the world of politics. Well, our good friend, Senator Adam Schiff, is finally being brought to justice. Now, a few weeks ago, I gleefully shared with you how Adam Schiff had been criminally referred for mortgage fraud. And President Trump amplified that with several comments during press conferences, live TV interaction, and posts on Truth Social. I also amplified it, as well as other conservative YouTubers. Well, now the Attorney General of Maryland has officially opened a mortgage fraud investigation against Adam Schiff. You guys, this is just the beginning. I expect this guy to be arrested, brought into court, financially drained for lying to MAGA and misleading his own voters for years against our great president, Donald J. Trump. I believe he will also end up serving some jail time, and he will lose his Senate seat in the great state of California. This guy tried to illegally produce a coup that would unseat President Trump, ruin his marriage, ruin his life, ruin his businesses, and his reputation. Let's go ahead and watch together what was said over on the Laura Ingraham show on Fox News, because I think you guys will find this absolutely fascinating. And let me know in the comments, do you want to see this guy arrested and removed as a senator, just like we did with Bob Gold Bars Menendez, who was literally taking bribes in gold bars? Let's watch this now.
And tonight, an update on an Ingraham Angle exclusive, a Trump administration source telling the Angle that a criminal investigation of Adam Schiff is underway, conducted by U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland for possible charges involving mortgage fraud. Now, this follows the story we broke last month when the Federal Housing Finance Agency sent a criminal referral to the DOJ alleging that Schiff, in multiple instances, falsified bank documents and property records to acquire more favorable loan terms. In a 2011 affidavit signed by the then California congressman, he certified that a property in Montgomery County, Maryland, is his primary residence. He also owns a condo in Burbank, California, which he's also claimed is his primary residence, and said so in 2023 during his campaign for Senate.
I think just about every member of Congress has a residence in their state and a residence back in D.C. since we're in session much of the week. And people make a family decision where they're going to have their kids. But our principal residence, our primary residence is in California. It always has been and always will be.
Ruh-roh. Well, Senator Schiff has not responded to us about these allegations, but we were able to find a statement that his campaign spokesperson gave to CNN back in 2023. She said that the Burbank condo is his primary residence, but Adams, California, and Maryland addresses have been listed as primary residences for loan purposes because they're both occupied throughout the year and to distinguish them from a vacation property. Well, the law does not work that way. Let me just say that, but nice try.
Okay, you cannot have two primary residences. right? Like you can only have one. I thought about moving to Puerto Rico for tax purposes. You have to live there so many months and so many days in order to call it a primary residence, or you don't get the favorable loan, favorable tax treatment, favorable insurance. So this is just another example of fraud. Adam Schiff, who lied to the American people, doing the very crimes that he accused Donald Trump of. So this guy is now officially being investigated. I'm here for it. Let me know in the comments if you want to see that. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing.
What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting a little breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills piling up, you're not alone. Most Americans are putting these expenses on a credit card, and there doesn't seem to be a way out. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off your debt. You need to call American Financing today before you get to a point where you can't make these payments. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. And their customers are saving on average $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 a year raise by being smarter with your money. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer. Call now before it's late at 888-686-8030. That's 888-686-8030, or visit americanfinancing.net/Gardner.
Over in Texas, it's still chaos around the board. More than 50 Texas House Democrats fled the state to Illinois and New York, breaking quorum in an effort to block a vote that would give Republicans legally 5 more seats in Congress. Now, among those who left was Representative John Busey, Ann Johnson, Solomon Lalani, who accused Governor Greg Abbott and Donald Trump of engineering the map for racial gerrymandering purposes, prioritizing political advantage over critical flood relief. So they're basically saying, while everyone's distracted by these dead children in this horrible flood that happened, you guys are using racism to try to get more seats. That's absolutely not true. Now, this same Congressman Busey defended the move, saying he was acting to protect democracy and prevent a stolen election. In response, Governor Greg Abbott ordered the arrest of the absent lawmakers for dereliction of duty. You cannot do this. He has filed a lawsuit to remove Representative Jean Wu, labeled the ringleader, and blasted Democrats for stalling vital aid legislation. Now, Senator John Cornyn, someone I also hope gets replaced, he's a GOP guy. He has called on the FBI to help track down and arrest these members of Congress. On top of that, the situation is reaching a critical point. Senator John Cornyn has called on FBI Director Kash Patel to help Texas and the governor of Texas to bring these people back so that official government business can go forward. Remember, this is what they said was the main thing with the January 6thers, that they interrupted the flow of government business. In a letter to FBI Director Kash Patel, Senator Cornyn argued that the lawmakers' flight violates their oath of office and obstructs the legislative process. He urged the use of federal resources to help track them across state lines and expressed concern that possible bribery if funds were raised in support of their evasion. Meanwhile, Attorney General Ken Paxton is seeking judicial orders to vacate the office of any member who fails to return by the August 8th deadline. All right, now in the world of Jeffrey Epstein, House Oversight Committee James Comer has announced a wave of subpoenas targeting high-profile individuals as part of the investigation into the Jeffrey Epstein crimes and the handling of these crimes by the federal government. Those included in the list are former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former FBI Director James Comey, Robert Mueller, Attorney General Merrick Garland, Attorney General Bill Barr, Jeff Sessions, Loretta Lynch, and Eric Holder, all to testify between August and October of this year. Now, the bipartisan approved probe also demands Justice Department records related to Epstein and his longtime accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving 20 years for trafficking young girls to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, did you hear what I said? This is a bipartisan approved probe. So for any of you that say, oh, the Republicans aren't going to move forward with that, that might be true, except for that this was bipartisan, which means there's a lot of Republicans and a few Democrats that want the truth on this pervert, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, in his memoirs, former President Bill Clinton admitted to flying to Jeffrey Epstein's island on the Lolita Express at least 28 times and acknowledged Jeffrey Epstein's 17 visits to the White House, where nobody knows what they talked about during those 17 visits in the Oval Office. Now, the Department of Justice is seeking to unseal grand jury testimony transcripts in order to dig through and see if there was anyone that got away with crimes. President Trump criticized the mainstream media for putting all of the focus on him, where he says there is no crime, and none of the focus on Bill Clinton, where he admitted to riding on the Lolita Express 28 times and receiving Jeffrey Epstein in the Oval Office 17 times. Now, remember when there were rumors that Ghislaine Maxwell wanted Trump to pardon her? Now, another corrupt sicko is begging for a pardon, and that is Sean Puffy Combs. Although, I'm just reading right here, breaking news. Listen to this. Okay, breaking news. Ghislaine Maxwell, according to ABC News, informed the Department of Justice that she never observed Donald J. Trump engaging in any concerning behavior in her presence. This statement comes amid ongoing scrutiny of Maxwell's association and her role in the Jeffrey Epstein case. The report has sparked varied reactions, with some questioning its implication given Maxwell's controversial history and legal troubles. Further details about the DOJ and Maxwell remain undisclosed. Wow. That was breaking news right as I was filming this. That's crazy. Okay, so Ghislaine Maxwell is now saying, I never observed Donald Trump doing anything. All right, now back to Sean Puffy Daddy Combs. According to Nicole Westmore at CNN, Sean Puff Daddy Combs is begging Donald Trump for a presidential pardon. Combs was found guilty last month on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but was acquitted for serious charges such as RICO, conspiracy, and racketeering charges, sex trafficking, and other stuff, which carried a life sentence. Now he faces up to 20 years in prison, and he is begging for Donald Trump to pardon him. Now, despite Trump's public reluctance to offer clemency, citing Diddy's past hostility towards Trump during the election campaign, Combs remains in custody in Brooklyn, New York, with bail denied because of his abuse towards women in the past. They say he is a safety concern for himself and also to the American public. Yikes. Now, his legal team is preparing to appeal and file additional lawsuits. Now, I personally believe Donald Trump should not give him a pardon or clemency just because he was rude during the election cycle. He shouldn't give it because he was literally trafficking prostitutes. That's why. He was prosecuted, arrested, and found guilty by a group of his peers. Do not let people get away with bad behavior. I don't care how famous this guy is, President Trump. I don't believe that you should let him off the hook. That's my opinion. You guys can let me know down below. All right, let me know in the comments. What do you think is going to happen with Adam Schiff? What are we going to learn from Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, James Comey, and others? I definitely want to hear from you guys. I think it could be an explosive week, but the one that I'm that I am most hopeful on is I believe they're going to get John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, maybe Hillary Clinton. And I believe that they are going to get Senator Adam Schiff. And that's the one for me that is a really big deal because he tricked me during the Russia Gate hoax. And so once I found out he was a liar, my whole political world shifted. And now I would love to see him pay for all of that deception and fraud through mortgage fraud, the very thing that he was accusing Donald J. Trump of doing as he sought to destroy his life, family, marriage, and business. All right, you guys, I love you. If you could give this video a like, stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.